Behold, the divine light guides us all.
I, Esdras, saw upon the Mount Sinai a great people whom I could not number, and they all praised the Lord with songs. And in the midst of them there was a young man of high stature, taller than all the rest, and upon every one of their heads he set crowns, and was more exalted, which I marveled at greatly. So I asked the angel and said, Sir, what are these? He answered and said unto me, These be they that have put off the mortal clothing, and put on the immortal, and have confessed the name of Yahweh. Now are they crowned and receive palms. Then said I unto the angel, What young person is it that crowneth them, and giveth them palms in their hands? So he answered and said unto me, It is the Son of Yahweh, whom they have confessed in the world. Then began I greatly to commend them that stood so stiffly for the name of the Lord. Then the angel said unto me, Go thy way, and tell my people what manner of things, and how great wonders of the Lord thy power thou hast seen.
Whosoever therefore shall confess me before men, him will I confess also before my Father which is in heaven.
Matthew chapter 26, verse 29. But I say unto you, I will not drink henceforth of this fruit of the vine, which is wine, which is made from grapes, as you know. And our Lord, he loves to drink, man. That's something that our Lord took pleasure in when he was here on this planet Earth. He's not going to do it anymore until he returns to do it with you. Showing just how much he loves his elect, man. He's not even going to drink until he does it again with you. I will not drink henceforth of this fruit of the vine until that day when I drink it new with you in my Father's kingdom. So what a moment that's going to be, man.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahawah, Bahashem, YAHAWASHI, Bahashem, Makakwadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to us younger brothers. And peace and blessings and salutations to the hopeful lake out there, pushing his word in truth and in sincerity. In the name of Yahweh Bashem Yahawashi, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful lake, the believers, the listeners, whom have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashem Yahawashi. All right. And what I want to get into, today, all right, dealing with how Yahawashi is up next. All right. And we're living in the transition, okay, from the kingdoms of this world to the kingdom of Yahawashi. Okay, and what we see now, what the scriptures say, the nations are mad. There's a lot of, tension, between the nations. There's a lot of confusion. Okay, they're trying to establish this new world order, beginning with Esau, Edom. Okay, but there's a lot of infighting. Okay, and what we're seeing, okay, is the biggest power vacuum ever. Okay, is about to be created in the planet Earth, and Yahawashi is going to fill that power vacuum. Okay, because these nations, the Lord has these nations on the path to go to war with one another. Okay, and at the same time, he's raising up a remnant. Okay, to rule with Yahawashi, because Yahawashi is up next. Okay, and he's up forever. You see, we're coming into a rulership that doesn't end. All right. Every other rulership before this had a beginning and an end. This is that everlasting rulership spoken of in prophecy, man. And we're in that time, what a beautiful time to be alive during the transition into that rulership. Okay. So let's go here. Let's go to the book of Psalms, chapter 50. And I got a video I want to get into as well. But this Psalm chapter 50 and verse 20 says, Thou sittest and speakest against thy brother, thou slanderest thy own mother's son. Okay? Because Esau's rulership, a major part of this man's rulership is based off deception. Okay? And the way that he, has marketed the tribes to the world as if the tribes was the most inferior people on the earth. Like we were just inherently criminals, inherently violent, inherently deadbeats, the women, inherently just, hoes and low level, etc., etc. Okay. This man spent a lot of money, resources and time, marketing us to the world as inferior. 3/5 of a man, his scientific racism. Okay. Now through enchantments and social engineering, over the years, all right, a lot of our people, you do have a portion of our people that fulfill those stereotypes that this devil, pushes to the world. Okay, but that's not the end all be all to us as a people. For the longest he marketed, he markets, the worst of our people, okay, as a standard for, us as a people. You see? But what's happening and what this devil hates more than anything, that there's a remnant, okay, that has awakened and came back to our power. Okay, that's beginning to rehearse the righteous acts, call on the names, okay, of the Heavenly Father Yahweh through his only begotten Son's name, YAHAWASHI. Okay, and this is what this devil has no answer to, man. Okay, because when he makes his move, that's when things are going to drastically, all right, go left for this devil. Okay, he's gonna be allowed, to martyr some. Okay, but then there's going to be an intervention. Okay, the Lord's going to intervene in a major way. Okay, so for the longest the devil, has been able to, run the earth in wickedness. He's been able to prosper in the wickedness, enchant people, lie, deceive, do what he want because he had the resources and military might to do so. So this man's been able to do what he want for all this time, and now it's slipping. All right, this nigga is slipping, man. So you read Psalms 50 and 21 says, These things hast thou done, and I kept silence. Thou thoughtest that I was altogether such as one as thyself, but I will reprove thee and set them in order before thine eyes. Okay, so we're being set in order right before the devil's eyes, and we're being set in order. And what as we're being set in order, the Lord is putting the Spirit on us to reprove this man. Okay, and tell him by himself why we're being set in order, man. Okay, so Esau, Edom, he's at the end of his rope. This is the end of the road for the devil, man. Okay, and he's been told by himself right before, he's judged, man, because we're the mouthpiece. The prophets are the mouthpiece of YAHAWASHI. Okay, and the Lord is pronouncing judgment on this devil and calling him out at every turn. Okay, so what's happening now? Let's go here. Let's get this in Jeremiah 50. Might be 51. Might be 51. All right, this is Jeremiah 51 and 7 says, Babylon have been a golden cup in the Lord's hand. Okay, so the Lord, used Babylon, America, okay, to influence the nations in wickedness, man. These nations, okay, have fell under the influence of Babylon. Okay, it says, Babylon had been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. Okay, so this is what we're seeing now play out in the earth. As Babylon, has been that golden cup because Babylon was the standard. Gold is like it's a attractive metal. It's good to look upon. Okay, and America on the surface, it looked like the place to mimic. Okay, it looked like the place to imitate as a nation. You go into America when it was in this peak, in this prime. Okay, the thriving middle class, and the low crime, and you see, all right, the music, the American music was, you know, different inventions coming out of America. So America looked like, it was attractive to these nations. Okay, but the substance of America was straight wicked, man. All right, it was rebellion against YAHAWASHI. Okay, so America was appealing. American had an appeal to it. Okay, it had a shine to it. All right, and the elites. All right, the Lord used, the elites to push America, you know, throughout the earth, push American culture, okay, and philosophies throughout the earth. And now these nations are drunken, okay, with the wine of Babylon, and now it's a shit show, man. Okay, now the earth is confused as hell. Okay, this devil trying to replace the Most High with technology. He wants to go to war with everybody. He wants to go to war with his own citizens. He just all over the place, man. Okay, so this is what we're seeing. Okay, happen in real time. All right, these nations have become mad off the wine of Babylon. Okay, and it's going to lead to these nations destroying Babylon. Jeremiah 51:8 said, Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. How for her, take balm for her, is so she may be healed. Okay, and there's no reversing the destruction that's in progress. Okay, America is circling the drain. Ain't no reversing it. Ain't no stopping the drain. All right. What we're seeing, this thing is just constantly spiraling more and more out of control. The heal, the wound is getting worse. you know, there's no recovery for the whore. Okay. Verse 9, it says, we will have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her and let us go every one into his own country, for her judgment reaching unto the heaven and lifted up even to the skies, man. Okay, so we're at a time of great judgment, man. Okay, this is a time of a great transition. Okay, in the midst of the transition of power, there's going to be great judgment, man, to put an end to the rule of the heathens. Okay, it was always set up, for the heathens to have, their time to rule, beginning with Esau, because he's the head of the heathen. Okay, within this rulership. Okay, but it was always a cutoff point. You see, and now we're reaching that cutoff point, and it's transitioning unto the kingdom of YAHAWASHI. Okay, and YAHAWASHI, he's going to be the one that's going to come finalize their judgment upon Esau and the rest of these heathens, man. Because even before, YAHAWASHI was crucified, he dropped, a heavy prophecy. Okay, when you go to the book of Luke, chapter 21, and in verse 24, and it says, and they shall fall by the edge of the sword, speaking of, Israelites 70 AD, mainly the southern kingdom at this time. All right, but at the sword of the Romans, okay, we were destroyed, man. We were chased out of Jerusalem. A lot of the people was crucified, died in those wars. Okay, between the Zealots and Sakari, okay, and those Roman legions. Right, and that marked the beginning of us falling away as a people. Okay, and then it says, and shall be led away captive into all nations. Okay, because as we fled into, the interiors of Africa, settling in, northern and western Africa, mainly, Jake is everywhere. Okay, and then you had some Jakes that was getting grabbed up and sold in captivity then, by the Romans. Okay, but eventually we had the transatlantic slave trade that would take a lot of Jake, west, to the New World, and then you had the sub-Saharan slave trade that would take Jake east, and be scattered, towards the east. All right, the eastern hemisphere, and eventually, as the scripture said, we will be scattered throughout the four winds, north, east, south, and west, man. And it's beginning with the starting point of Jerusalem. You see, we will be scattered every direction from Jerusalem, man, as a punishment for disobedience. Okay, but now guess what? We're at the end of that. We're at the end of that punishment. Okay, in the beginning of our blessing. And Esau, he's at the end of his rulership and the beginning of his punishment, man. And we're going to get that. And it says, "And shall be led away captive into all nations, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled." Okay, so it was always a time limit, okay, on these heathens being in power. Okay, and their time for being in power is linked exactly, all right, to our time of being in captivity. Okay, so as we're coming out of captivity, they're going in it. They're going into captivity, man. As Esau is falling out of rulership, Jacob is rising into rulership, man. Okay, and let's get this in the book of Lamentations. All right, then we'll play this quick video I got. This book of Lamentations. All right, chapter 4. All right, this book of Lamentations, chapter 4, verse 21, says, "And rejoice and be glad, O daughter of Edom, that dwellest in the land of Uz. The cup also shall be passed through unto thee. Thou shalt be drunken and shalt make thyself naked." Okay, so we're seeing, all right, Esau, Edom becoming naked, man. He's becoming bare. Okay, what this man is really about, who he truly is, his true nature. Okay, he's being put out there, man. People are seeing his hypocrisy. Okay, people are seeing that this man is just, he's just bloodthirsty, man. Okay, the people are seeing, how, the wealth distribution is just terrible, man. And the way this man, hoards the resources to himself. Okay, the wealth to this small percentage while everyone else is catching hell. All these systems are rigged. Everything's a lie. So this devil, everything about this man's kingdom, this wicked empire, is being made bare. The Lord is making this man naked, man, exposed. And it begins with the ministry of the prophets. Okay, and you have other platforms. Okay, but it began with what? The prophets exposing this man. Okay, so the scriptures are telling this man to rejoice and be glad, because this is it for the devil, man. This is it. And he can't reverse it. He's doing everything he can to fight up against it. Okay, and he really wants to establish this new world order, man. So expect this man to do something drastic, man. Okay, because this man, he's behind the 8 ball every second. You see. But then you read verse 22, it said, "The punishment of thine iniquity is accomplished." Okay, so as our punishment is being accomplished, is being ended, okay, his punishment is beginning. You see, it says, "O daughter of Zion, he will no more carry thee away into captivity." Man, this is it. This is the last heathen rulership, and this is our last captivity, man. Oh, what a time. Oh, what a time, man. You see, we finna live, man. We finna get everything's gonna be in righteousness, man. And it's gonna be with YAHAWASHI. YAHAWASHI finna get his glory, man. The Heavenly Father, they finna get their glory in the earth, man. Okay, the fear of Yahweh, why YAHAWASHI is about to be renewed in the earth, man. You know, and Lord will, we get to partake in that glory, man, that's coming to the earth from the Heavenly Father through YAHAWASHI. Okay, it says he will visit thine iniquity, O daughter of Edom. He will discover thy sins. Okay, and this is the man of sin. This is the man, okay, that has, led a great rebellion against righteousness in the earth. Okay, and now the Lord has transitioned the kingdom right from under this nigga, man. Okay, so let's go here. I want to play this clip real quick. Let's go here. Yeah, this nigga Trump finished, man. You know, this nigga is woe out, man. Okay. It like he lost some weight, man. Stretched the hell out. Suit baggy as hell, man. He out of there, man. Look at this nigga, man. And it's beautiful, man. It's beautiful to see Esau lose, man. Okay. So let's play this.
Lastly, we have another executive order that President Trump signed relating to independent agencies. This executive order would establish important oversight functions in the Office of Management and Budget and its subsidiary office, OIRA, supervising independent agencies and many of their actions, and also reestablishes the longstanding norm that only...
Look at this nigga Trump, man. He don't know what the fuck going on, man. He looking like all this is new to him, man. He don't know what the fuck going on, man. Look at Trump. Look at this nigga, man. You know, this is my pastime, looking at these devils lose it, man. Look how Trump look at this nigga, man.
And in agencies and many of their actions, and also reestablishes the longstanding norm that only the president or the attorney general can speak for the United States when stating an opinion as to what the law is.
Thank you very much, Will. That was the primary purpose of this conference.
Is there anything that could stop you if you wanted to?
Yeah, there's one thing, my own morality, my own mind. It's the only thing that can stop, and that's very good. I don't need international law. I'm not looking to hurt people.
Do you feel your administration needs to abide by international law on the global stage?
Yeah, I do. I do. But it depends what your definition of international law is. You mean in Greenland?
We had
because you needed that at the time.
In the 1951 agreement, though, it says the United States can reopen these bases anytime you want. You can send as many troops as you want, and you haven't done it. How come?
Because I want to do it properly.
And properly means own it?
Really, it is. To me, it's ownership. Ownership is very important. You know.
Why is ownership important here?
Because it's what I feel is psychologically needed for success. I think that ownership gives you a thing that you can't do, whether you're talking about a lease or a treaty. Ownership gives you things and elements that you can't get from just signing.
All this. Can you please just hear me out? No, all work management platforms are the same. They take forever to learn, and in the end,
all this chaos leads to a larger question. What is happening to the world order? Is it being ripped apart? Is it being reshaped? Or is this just a phase? What's happening now is not unprecedented. World powers have always disregarded international law. The difference? How Donald Trump is phrasing it. There is no pretense of following the law. There is no excuse for justification. Trump is owning his violations and recklessness. Look at his recent comments in an interview.
I don't need international law. I'm not looking to hurt people. Yeah, there is one thing, my own morality, my own mind. It's the only thing that can stop me.
And this is dealt with the peak of his pride. And it's beautiful, you know, because he's just a mouthpiece, okay, of this new world order, okay, in the West. All right, but this is how the elites. So if Trump is this proud, you can imagine the pride that's on the elites because he's the dude boy. Okay, they probably slapped that nigga around, behind the scene. Okay, so this nigga is this proud. How proud do you think these elites are, man? And this beautiful, man, because we know pride goes before destruction, man. Okay, so we need these devils, beginning with these elites at the peak of their pride, man. Okay, because that's going to usher in that judgment. It's ushering in their end, And she's talking about what is this? The world order being reshaped. It's being transitioned. This order is done. This current world order and this new world order Esau is trying to bring about, all of it is finished. Okay, Esau's plan for a new world order gonna be extremely short-lived, man. Okay, YAHAWASHI is coming to bring a complete end, okay, to this double so-called new world order that he's trying to pull off, man. That he's trying to get off the ground. He's catching hell.
So Trump says international law cannot restrict him. Then what can? His own...
YAHAWASHI. Who can make war with the beast? Well, we got the answer, YAHAWASHI. We'll get those precepts. That's who's going to make war with the beast is YAHAWASHI. Okay? And like he said, his own morals. Well, your morals, according to your morals, because you don't have any morals. You're immoral. Okay? And according to your immorality, okay, you're condemned. And there's a judgment coming for your immorality. Okay? So in the sense, he's right. His morals are going to stop. His lack of morals, that's what's going to stop his ass, because it's going to warn a judgment, okay, from YAHAWASHI, man, our righteous power, So let it play some more.
Morality, according to Donald Trump.
Secretary Hegseth, sir, a memo circulating on social media details the establishment of a National Guard response force that's going to be trained in crowd control and civil unrest and deployed in all 50 states by April of 2026. Can you verify the authenticity of that memo, and do you have any more information on the operations?
I'm not going to answer particulars on something that may be in the planning process, but we definitely do have multiple layers of National Guard response forces, whether it's in each state, whether it's regionally, whether it's Title 10 active duty, whether it's Washington, D.C. We've got a lot of different ways that constitutionally and legally we can employ Title 10 and Title 32 forces, and we will do so when necessary.
Are you concerned that Trump might be elected again shortly?
I think it's very likely. And if it happens, it is likely to be the kind of like the death blow to what remains of the global order. And he says it openly. Now, again, it should be clear that many of these politicians, they present a false dichotomy, a false binary vision of the world, as if you have to choose between patriotism and globalism, between being loyal to your nation and being loyal to some kind of, global government or whatever.
This is the new reality. If Trump wants Venezuela's oil, he will take it. If Trump wants Greenland, he will take it. Some leaders have criticized this new equation, like French President Emmanuel Macron.
We are evolving into a world of great powers with a real temptation to divide the world amongst themselves. The United States is an established power, but one that is gradually turning away from some of its allies and freeing itself from the international rules it was still promoting until recently.
So what's the way forward? Macron wants us to reinvest in multilateralism. He wants us to double down on the United Nations. I don't think Macron will find many takers. The UN stock is at its lowest in decades. They couldn't stop the war in Ukraine. They could not stop Israel's war in Gaza. They could not stop the US attack on Venezuela. And they certainly cannot do anything about Greenland, the United Nations. Do you know why? Because the UN was built on two assumptions. One, that world powers would act responsibly. And two, that globalization would unite the world.
The UN is a joke, okay? The UN is an absolute joke. And all the UN is a place where these nations gather together to cry about what the small hats in America is doing. Okay, because no one breaks more international law than the small hats. Okay, in the United States. Okay, and the UN is a joke. They don't enforce anything, and see, these nations know that. Okay, these nations, these power nations. Okay, Russia and China. The Lord is putting the spirit on them to do what they gotta do. Okay, because there's no way to deal with America diplomatically, to deal with the small hats diplomatically, man. You know, the Lord has it to where they've exhausted all options, man. Okay, and their last option is going to be war. Okay, because these nations want to go into this new world order. They're all about this one world government, one currency, you know, the digital DPI, double the digital public infrastructure to, you know, govern, okay, their citizens with AI. And, you know, these nations are on board with it. Okay. But as they are trying to transition into this new system, America is just wilding out, man. And it's the Lord that's doing. It's the Lord. YAHAWASHI is causing this to happen, man. You know, the elites only control so much. Okay? The elites ain't in the driver's seat of prophecy, man. The elites are a part of prophecy. Okay? So when we deal with, you know, prophecy, the whore will be hated, man. Okay? The whore will be despised, man. Okay? So whatever these devils are trying to pull off, the only thing that is yielding, okay, is the will of YAHAWASHI according to prophecy, man. Okay? Let's play this.
Both assumptions were wrong. We are seeing the world fracture into many pieces. The US is one piece. Europe used to be part of that same piece, but Washington kicked them out. China is one piece. Russia and Iran are aligned to that piece. Middle powers like India are a different piece. And all of them are floating around with different interests. This is not a new order. It's a churn before the new order. And frankly, it was inevitable. In recent years, the US has been a declining power. Meanwhile, Asian countries surged ahead. They had a younger population and more resources. And the result was this. Many countries began challenging America, whether that's Russia invading Ukraine or China militarizing the Indo-Pacific or the BRICS moving away from the US dollar. All of this was a direct attack on the US-led world order. But then came Donald Trump, sort of like a final flare from a dying star.
And Trump is here to put America in the grave. Okay, and fully hand America over to technocrats. Okay, that's what America. He came, his character. All right, you know, placated to, you know, the American working class, and, you know, being this conservative, you know, Edomite Christian. Okay, this Edomite supremacy. Okay, that's his character that placate to that. Okay, but the real agenda is to distract during this controlled demolition of America, man, to distract you with some type of revival of America. Even with this whole, you know, incident with Venezuela, it was supposed to be a showing of America power and dominance in the earth. Okay, but you see that was short-lived. All right, and now it's time for another gimmick, man. So it's gonna be gimmick after gimmick, lie after lie. Okay, to keep you people distracted, you know, arguing back and forth, divided. Okay, and all this devil is doing is distracting. Okay, during this controlled demolition, okay, of America, man.
Trump is trying to reassert US dominance. That is why he captured Maduro, and that is why he wants Greenland. But how much further can he go? Can he truly revive the US-led order? The answer is no, because the other pieces won't allow it. Consider trade and the dollar. Russia settles 95% of its trade with India and China in local currencies, not the US dollar. China settles 33% of its total trade in local currency, why would they go back to the US dollar? Of its total trade in won't allow it. Consider trade and the dollar.
Yeah, and I just want to look at this picture. You know, you got China, Russia, and India, you know, going into the kings of the East. Okay. All right. There's going to come west to wage war. You know? So these countries that have made these economic alliances, well, these economic alliances naturally are going to be military alliances, man, because you need strength to protect your interests. Okay, so these nations that's lining up outside of the dollar economically, well, they're forming a military alliance, okay, against that old order. Okay, and in their mind, because China and India, all right, you got the Chinese president Xi Jinping, okay, and the Indian, you know, the India president, I forget his name, but these two countries represent 1/3 of the world's population, India and China, and they're already mostly digital. Okay, so they're with the New World Order agenda. Okay, but it's the Lord that's going to cause these nations to fight. Okay, over this new order. Okay, what we're seeing is a power struggle between the elites, and it's playing out between these countries, man, because the Esau always deal treacherously, even amongst themselves, man. Okay, amongst the higher ups, because the more higher up you get, the more treacherous it gets. Okay, but I just looking at that, you know, these kings of the East, and you can throw Iran, okay, and North Korea in the mix. Okay, would you see these three click tight all the time, man? Well, let's play some more.
Russia settles 95% of its trade with India and China in local currencies, not the US dollar. China settles 33% of its total trade in local currency. Why would they go back to the US dollar? Also, this project is not slowing down. It is gathering pace. For example, the BRICS group. This group is expanding. It began with 4 members in the year 2009. Today, it has 11 members, meaning more and more countries are joining this project. They want to reduce their dependence on the United States. The question is, will this lead to a clash? President Macron addressed this too.
Yeah, it's going to lead to a clash. All right. And President Macron, okay, is a nobody. All right. The French president, okay, is absolutely nobody. Okay. He's not even worth mentioning. You see, you know, those farmers, those farmers protest the other day. Okay. And this nigga went into his bunker. Okay, with a nigga he called his husband, man. Okay, this is why, all right, the Lord is going to bring so much destruction to the earth, man. Look at all these devils, man. These Edomite men that are in power. This is the problem of the earth, man. Okay, you perverted, all right, disgusting. Okay, Edomite men that's in power, man. Just look at this steel shot. Look at these niggas, man. You know this nigga in the front with the black coat, that smile. You know, president, leaders of nations are just complete moles, man. This is under Esau, man. Even Alexander, they call him Alexander the Great, Alexander the Greek. Okay, complete mo. Okay, they're just the nature of the Edomite man. You know, not to get too far off topic, man, but this is the problem of the earth, man. Okay. This is an Edomite male rulership, man. You know? And this is the problem of the planet Earth. And this is what YAHAWASHI is coming to deal with in his return, man. This is the beast that's running the earth, man.
He said BRICS should not be anti-US or anti-G7. At the same time, he said the G7 should not be anti-China or anti-BRICS. But how do you ensure that? Macron suggested India could be a bridge.
We should fight against the fragmentation of the world. G7 should not be an anti-China club or an anti-BRICS group. BRICS can't be an anti-G7 group. India can create bridges in order to build cooperation.
Macron is making a key assumption here that this new order is settled. You'll have the Western G7 on one side, you'll have the China-dominated BRICS on the other, and also floating powers like India. But this is a very far-fetched assumption. For starters, Europe and the US are growing apart. If the US attacks Greenland, it's hard to see that relationship survive. Plus, if the Ukraine war ends, Russia and the US will patch up. So the Western equations can still change. Same in Asia. If China attacks Taiwan, will Trump step in? And if he does not, why would Japan or South Korea trust him? So like I said, this is not a new order. This is the churn before a new order, and Trump did not trigger this churn. He's just making it more violent and more brazen. But what should countries like India do?
Said this is a turn before a new order, and she's right. But it's just not the new order. Because, see, it's confusion. Okay? You just hear her talk, and it's confusion. Nobody really, you know. You see, you got, the BRICS, and you got, the WHO, you got the wealth, you got, it's just a bunch of confusion, man. Okay? You got a technocracy rolling out, It's just a bunch of confusion, man. And YAHAWASHI is coming to bring an end to this shit show called the rulership, man. Okay?
Simply put, strengthen yourself. Do not depend on America for exports. Do not depend on China.
Yeah, what the hell she talking? Strengthen yourself. Okay. The hell they're supposed to be. All right. So let's get some precepts. Get ready to close out. So let's close out with YAHAWASHI, man, because YAHAWASHI is coming to transition this thing. Okay? Because even when you go to Revelation, okay, because Revelation deals with a lot of the final judgment. All right? Because I'm going to read Revelation 4, then jump back up. Revelation 6 and 4, it says, "And there went out another horse that was red," speaking of Esau, "and by power was given to him that sat thereupon to take peace from the earth." So this current world order is Esau in this power. He's the man on the red horse. This is Esau's power structure. Okay? And within his power structure, he was given, an assignment to take peace from the earth. This is what Esau was meant to do, take peace from the earth, man. And we're going to appreciate peace so much, in the world to come. And even now, as the Most High, through YAHAWASHI, he gives us, a portion of peace on this side, because the Most High is all about balance. We appreciate it, man. Peace is, that's why, one of the things that, in the truth that you can value more than anything is peace. Because we live in the rulership that was assigned to take peace from the earth. Okay? But the only peace we have is in YAHAWASHI. Okay? And that makes us, cleave to him in these times. Okay? Because there's no peace of mind. There's no true peace of mind outside of YAHAWASHI. Okay? Everything else is temporal, fragile. Okay? Fleeting. It's up and down. Okay? But within YAHAWASHI, man, there's a stable peace of mind. Okay? And then we appreciate that, But the devil was given the assignment to take peace from the earth. It says that they should kill one another, and there was given unto him a great sword. Okay? So the devil has been given this great sword, and with it, what had these devils done? Because even you go into World War I, there was Edomites killing other Edomites on mass scale for dominating, the earth, man. World War II, same thing. Edomites, all right, Edomite governments fighting over control, all right, of the world. Okay? And after World War II, America came out on top according to prophecy. All right, their little horn. Okay? And ever since then, it's just been a weapons race building up to this third world war for them to fight again. Okay? But in the midst of that fighting, them fighting each other, Yahawashi is going to come in this shit, man. Okay? Yahawashi is going to come in this shit once and for all. That's why you go Revelation 6:2. And I saw and behold a white horse, and he that sat on him had a bow. Okay? And this is Yahawashi on that chariot. Okay? That white horse, that fathership. Okay? Pure power. Okay? And he said he had a bow, which let you know he's coming for war. And a crown was given unto him. And a crown was given to him by his father. The authority has been given to him by the Father to do what? And he went forth conquering and to conquer. So Yahawashi is coming to conquer. Okay, this whole system. You see, and he's going to put an end. That's why there's going to be no more wars within the rulership of Yahawashi. Okay, let's get a few more judgments on scriptures. And then we're going to prove that. So let's go back to Revelation. Let's get to Revelation 19. Okay, Yahawashi up next, man. This is done. This the time of the heathen and all the back and forth and the confusion that they have going on within their rulerships, man. This is over with, man. Okay, the Prince of Peace is coming back to conquer in righteousness, man. Okay, and America's at the top of the list in judgment. Revelation 19:2 said, "For true and righteous are his judgments, for he have judged the great whore, which did corrupt the earth with her fornication, and have avenged the blood of his servants at her hand." Okay, so we're getting ready to see. All right, Yahawashi deal with America directly, man. Those chariots are going to be pushing a lot of fire along with the missiles into America, man. Judging the whore. Okay, and American military gonna get their work overseas as well. All the military is gonna get their work, man, and the American military gonna get caught up in it. Okay, so Yahawashi is finna judge in righteousness, man, and the whore America is at the forefront. Because remember, it said what? She have made the nation, Babylon have been the golden cup in the Lord's hand, which have made the nations drunken, and the nations are mad. Okay, so America has influenced the planet Earth in complete wickedness, man. Okay, and there's a judgment for that. So, jumping down, Revelation 19:11, it says, "And I saw heaven open, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat upon him was called Faithful and True. And in righteousness he doth judge and make war." See, Yahawashi is bringing the righteous war to all these heathens, man. Okay, all these heathens, okay, are going to be caught up and judged at the return of Yahawashi. And that's why they're being gathered to the valley of Jehoshaphat. That's when Yahawashi is going to appear and judge all their ass, man. Okay, turning militaries into powder. You see? So this war that these small hats finna drag America into is leading to the judgment of all these heathens, man. Okay, America just finna get it the worst because it's behaved the worst. You see, it's been the source of wickedness in the planet Earth. Verse 12 says, "His eyes were as a flame of fire, and on his head were many crowns, and he had a name written that no man knew but he himself." Okay, so on his head were many crowns, symbolizing him taking the rulership from these nations, man, taking authority from these nations. Okay, we ain't got to try to figure out, what's going to be, what the new world order going to look like. It's going to be Russia and China at the front, what Iran role going to be, what's India. India got this, all these, they got more, young adults than anybody and resources. We got to try to figure that out, man. Okay, and Yahawashi up next, man. And it's going to be in righteousness. And he's coming to take the crowns from amongst these heathens, man. The authority from amongst these heathens. Okay? Verse 13, it says, and he was clothed in a vesture dipped in blood, and his name is called the Word of the Most High. And this is symbolic talk from the slaughter, because he's not going to be, blood is not going to touch YAHAWASHI. Okay? This is symbolic of a slaughter at his return. Okay? And YAHAWASHI coming back as a God of war, man. Okay? Verse 14, it says, and the armies which were in heaven followed him upon white horses, which are the other chariots, the host. Okay? And this is going to be the completion of the transition when YAHAWASHI and the heavenly host, okay, when they invade the earth in righteousness, man. You know? And ultimately is the rightful king coming home. All right, YAHAWASHI. You see, it's Earth's rightful king coming home. Okay? And he's coming home with righteous judgment. You see? It said, clothed in fine linen, white and clean, and out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword, that with it he shall smite the nations, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron, and he treaded the winepress of the fierceness of the wrath of the almighty power. You know, so he's coming with the anger of the Father. And their sharp sword that goeth out of his mouth, that's their fire coming out of the openings of their chariot, man. Okay? Their fire going to be swinging like a sword coming out their chariot, man. Getting busy, turning these militaries of the heathen into powder. Okay? It says, and he had on his vesture and on his thigh, okay, which was on, this is his vesture, you know, like those long vests, okay, that noblemen would wear. All right, high-born men will wear those, you know, those long vests. Okay, look like a open tunic, you know, long. Okay, and on his thigh, okay, which is an embroidery. John seen an embroidery on the vesture of YAHAWASHI. Okay, it said King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Okay, so YAHAWASHI, that's what's next, man. Okay, we ain't scratching our head trying to figure out what this new system gonna look like, you know, bricks and nah, man. YAHAWASHI up next, man. Okay, and the earth is gonna have to check in to a righteous rulership, to their righteous government, okay, of Israel. Is Isaiah 2:1. It says the word that Isaiah the son of Amos saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem. And it shall come to pass in the last days that the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established in the top of the mountains, and shall be exalted above the hills, and all nations shall flow unto it. Okay, so this is the government of Israel, okay, being exalted in the earth, the true government of Israel under YAHAWASHI. Okay, those are first fruits, 144,000. Okay, which make up the governing body. Okay, and these nations are gonna have to check in. These nations flowing into it. This is them checking in. Okay, to the exalted government. Okay, and said verse 3 says, and many people shall go and say, come ye, and let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, YAHAWASHI, to the house of the power of Jacob, and he will teach us his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth the law and the word of the Lord, YAHAWASHI, from Jerusalem. Okay, so this is what's next. Okay, a righteous kingdom, the law, statutes, and commandments, the wisdom, true wisdom of the heavenly Father governing the earth, man. Okay, and being enforced by his sons, beginning with, okay, his only begotten son, YAHAWASHI, the firstborn. Okay, verse 4 says, and he shall judge among the nations, and he shall rebuke many people, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift those swords against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. Okay, So this is it. This the war, okay, to end our wars, man. Okay, and this is the war that's going to complete the transition, okay, from the kingdoms of this world to the kingdom of YAHAWASHI. Okay, so yeah, that's the point. Just wanted to tap into that, Lord will, you brothers. All right, and you sisters edified once again. We'll give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Kakadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to his younger brothers. And peace and blessings, salutations to the hopeful. Shalom.